Hi guys, welcome to this video on pivot pattern alteration technique. How to adjust patterns to fit perfectly. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can alter your patterns to fit your body shape. Most times the patterns that we buy, even though it is our size, doesn't exactly fit our waist, our bust, or our hips perfectly. There's always a need to adjust these patterns. I'm going to be working with this pattern. If you want to know how to make this scrub from beginning to end, I have the link directly below this video. And if you also want to purchase this particular pattern, I got it from Amazon. So if you want it, I also have the link directly below here. I want to let you know that if you purchase it, I also get a little something from it. Now, if we look at the measurements of this pattern as given by this particular pattern booklet, I discovered that the measurements they have for this my size, I chose size 18. The measurement for this my size really only fits me at the bust. So I chose this size really based on my bust measurement. My bust measurement is exactly 40 inches. My waist measurement is a little bit more than this, and my hips is also a little bit more than this, and my back neck to waist measurement is 1 inch more than this. So what you do once you get your pattern is get your measurements in place, particularly the basic measurements here, your bust to your waist, your hip, your back neck to your waist measurements. And once you have that measurement, you're now going to also write down the measurements you have on the pattern that you have bought. So you're going to come up with a table like this, where you have your bust, waist, hip, and back neck to waist measurements. And you also have the pattern measurements. As you can see here, for my bust, I do not need any kind of adjustment. But for my waist, I need to adjust the pattern. Because as you can see here, I need to adjust the pattern, increase it by 4 inches. And for the hips, I need to increase it by 6 inches. And for my back neck to waist, I need to increase it by 1 inch. So once you have this kind of table, the next thing, of course, is to go ahead and do the adjustment, which we are going to do in a very short while. But looking at this, you see that the only place I do need to adjust is my waist, hip, and back neck to waist. So that simply means that from the pattern pieces I'm going to get from this, I only need to adjust the front piece and the back piece. I'm not going to touch the side piece, because as I said, I learned this pivot method from Nancy Zeman. And once you have a side panel in your pattern, it's best you adjust the front and the back seams. It's better you do the adjustment there, especially since we are using the pivot method, which is quite a very easy method for a beginner to do. So without wasting much time, let's go straight and start the adjustment of our pattern. So now that you have created your pattern adjustment table, let's now go straight so that I'll show you how you can use the pivot method to adjust your patterns to fit your figure perfectly. So now these are the original pattern pieces of this pattern. This is the pattern we are making, pattern C. This is what we are sewing. And what I've done is to cut out all the pieces that I need for pattern C. There are about 21 pieces. I've cut it out individually. As I said initially, this here is a multi-sized pattern. If you can see, look at it here, this is a hand piece, but it's multi-sized. You have from size 8 to size 18. So it's a multi-size pattern. And for most multi-size pattern, the seam allowance is not normally illustrated. That is why you need to cut out everything. And then when we are done with cutting out everything, as I've done so, you're going to trace out everything using a tracing paper. This is the tracing paper that I used to trace out all these single patterns on. You can get this from Amazon. I'll have the link directly below this video if you're interested in purchasing it. So as I said, what I did, let me keep this aside. What I did is to trace out everything, which I've done. Let me remove it. I've traced out everything. Now, to do the pattern adjustment, as we noticed from my measurements that we looked at in the previous video, the only patterns I need are 3 of the patterns. That is the back pattern. This is the back upper piece of the pattern. The center front. That is the center front pattern. And of course, the center back pattern. That's the center back pattern. So for these 3 patterns, this is what we are going to be adjusting to fit my figure. Let me repeat it. Let me show you with this. So this is exactly what I'm going to be doing. These are the patterns I'm going to be adjusting. I'm going to be adjusting this front center, the back center, and of course the back. This is the front, but the back of it. The back of it is what I'm going to be adjusting. Unfortunately, they didn't even show the picture of the back here. But the back of it is what I'm going to be adjusting, because I'm going to be adjusting the back neck to waist length. So what do I need? This is what I have traced out on my tracing paper. I've traced out everything. But as I said, we are not going to need to adjust everything. I will just work with what we need to adjust with. Just to let you know that you need to trace out all your patterns on your tracing paper so that you work with your tracing paper. So for the pattern adjustment, the pivot pattern adjustment, you're going to need, of course, your rulers. You're going to need your pencil. You're going to need a rotary cutter. Depends on you, but you could also use a scissors. So it all depends on what you want to use to do your cutting. And of course, you need the measurement to show you what you're going to be adjusting, how many inches you're going to need to adjust. So when you have that, you lay that all aside. And we are going to start with adjusting the back neck to the waist length. So this is the first adjustment I want to do now. I'm going to adjust the back neck to the waist measurement. And for my measurement, I need to adjust it, increase it with 1 inch, as you can see. So what I did, I traced out the back piece of the pattern on 2 papers. On one of the papers, I gave a space because of the adjustment, you need a space to be able to do the pivoting, you know, to make it easy for you. And this, of course, I did the exact trace, the exact pattern as it is on one of the transparent paper. So what you do, we place this directly on this, exactly make them match everywhere. Make it match everywhere. And then I will just tape down the larger paper, tape it down so that it will not move. Just tape it down. So now that I've taped down the second paper, so it's fast, it will not move. This is the one we are going to be pivoting. And of course, I'm going to need a pin. You'll need a pin. And of course, a ruler. You need a ruler. And a French curve, because we are going to do a little curve, maybe a little curve of the hand, adjusting the armhole. Okay. Now, the first thing we need to do is to measure the 1 centimeter from here, the center part of the neck. Make sure that everything is in place. Everything is in place like so. Everything is in place with the down pattern. So you get your tape. You get your tape, and then I'm going to measure 1 inch, and I'm going to use my pencil. I'm going to mark that 1 inch. So I'll measure the 1 inch from the center neck up to here. I hope you're seeing what I'm doing. That is the 1 inch, and I'm going to mark it right there. So when I mark it, I will just shift this one up like so. And when I shift it, I want to tape it down so that it will not move, so that I will just draw another neckline like so. So that is exactly what I will do. So you see, I've traced the neckline. I have traced the neckline. And once you've done that, the next thing you need to do is to get your pin. And then put your pin where you have your seam allowance, where the neck meets the shoulder. Don't know if you're seeing what I'm doing. I hope so. Just put your pin there. And then shift the top to match this place, to match the shoulder line of the bottom pattern. I repeat, once you've traced out the neck, put your pin where you have this seam, and then adjust this top to meet back to where this ends. And what I'm going to do, I am going to draw a shoulder line from the new neck to meet up with this shoulder line. Now, once you've drawn the new shoulder line, you get your pin again. Get your pin again and put it where the shoulder meets the arm, the seam. Where the shoulder meets the seam of the hand meets the seam of the shoulder, at that seam line. And then I pivot it again so that it comes exactly to where the armhole is, comes back. So we are now going to draw the new armhole for this, like so. So I have done the tracing of the hand. I use another color so that it will not be confusing, the new armhole. So if I remove this, that is the new pattern. That is my new pattern with this orange color. That's the new pattern. Down here, slope down here. So now this notch definitely it will not be where it's supposed to be. So what you will do, you place back the pattern, put the curve where it's supposed to be right there, and then you do another notch. So that is the notch that will match the front notch when you're joining the two patterns together. Please don't forget to do that, or else you find out that your notches will not match. So we are done with adjusting the neck to the waist length, the back neck to the waist length. So the next one we are going to do is to adjust for the waist and for the hips. In this section of the video, we are going to be adjusting the back part of the pattern. We are going to be adjusting for the waist, the increased waist, and the increased hips. Now this is the back part pattern, the center back part pattern. As you can see too, I also did it twice, with this one giving space where I'm going to do the pivoting to adjust for the size. So to make you really understand, this is the particular section, but the back part, unfortunately they didn't show the picture of the back, but it's the back part, which is exactly the same thing that we are going to be adjusting. We are not touching this side panel. We're not going to be touching the side panel, just this front part and the back part that we are going to adjust to increase it a little bit. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing now. And if you notice, again, if you notice here, you're going to be sewing here and here. So we're going to be sewing here and here. And at the back, the same 2 seams. So all together, we are going to have 4 seams. You know, 2 in front, 2 at the back. So we're having 4 seams on this part of the pattern. That is very important because from my measurements that we have seen, at the waist, I need to add 4 inches. At the hip, I need to add 6 inches to make up for the shortage in the pattern. So these 4 inches, I'm going to divide it by 4 because I have 4 seams. And I divide it by 4. That means for each of these seams, I'm going to add 1 inch. 1 inch here, 1 inch here for the front. At the back, 1 inch, 1 inch, making it 4. That is at the waist level. At the waist level. The pattern gives you your waist level. Then at the hip level, you do not find this in this pattern, but what you can do is to measure your waist to your hip and just put that line there. This is my waist to my hip measurement, waist hip measurement. So at my hip level, I will also divide the 6 inches by 4, and that will give me 1.5 inches. So that means for this particular fold, I'm going to add 1 inch at the waist, and I'm going to add 1.5 inches at the hips. I hope it is clear. 1 inch at the waist here for this back fold, center fold, and then 1 inch and 1.5 inches here for the hip line. So it's essentially the same method, the pivot method. So what I will do, I will just mark the 1 inch at the waist point, make sure everything is aligned, tape down this one so that it will not move, and then just mark 1 inch from here at the waistline. And then at the hip line, I mark 1.5 inches. You may be wondering, why am I not taking 3 inches? Remember, it is on fold. It is on fold. So by the time you cut it on your material, this will be 3 inches for the back, and do the same thing for the front to be the same. I will not show the video for the front because it's essentially the same thing I'm going to do. So that's why I'm using it now so that you can see. What I'm doing here now, you do the same thing for the front piece. So now I've done my markings. What I'll do now, I will get my pin. Now this is the underbust seam. The underbust seam. So I'll put my pin where I have the underbust seam allowance. I'll just place it there. Put my pin there. I hope you're seeing what I'm doing. And then I'll pivot this to meet the waist, the 1 inch waistline. And then I'm going to draw. I'm going to draw from here to meet that place. So I've drawn my line, look at the line, to meet the 1 inch point of increase for the waist. Now, your paper still remaining the way it is, you shift the pin and then bring it to the waist here. I hope you're seeing what I'm doing. Then you're going to pivot the paper again to meet the hip. Remember our hip, 1.5 extra. And then I'm going to draw this line to meet this hip. So this here is our new pattern, and of course the new seam allowance. So that's essentially the method you're going to use to also do the front piece. It's essentially, it's just the same thing, exactly the way I've shown you to do this. So that is all there is to the pivot method to use to adjust your patterns to fit your body shape. So if you want to see how I actually completed making this scrub, I have the link directly below this video, so you can click it and watch it and make your own scrub. And drop me a comment when you're done. You can even upload your picture for me to see and see how your own scrub turned out. Or you drop a comment if you have any questions that has to do with the pattern adjustment. So far, you drop me a comment and I will answer you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you've learned something today.